Oh, here we go. All right, it's another starting five. What is the deal, family? Baltimore continues to burn tonight, man, and our thoughts are with them. I mean, there's so much to be said for that, but we're here more to take your mind off of a lot of the craziness that's been going on, something that brings people together, rather. And if you've been to a Rockets game, they do bring a lot of different people together, and that's what it's about. But this is the starting five. We're the starting three right now. We got two brothers that's out, but it's all good as long as it's whenever it's one or two. You know, that's what they say in the church. Wherever it's one or two, they will have Christ or, something like that. But yeah, anyway, with that, I bring in Demarcus Broughton
What's going on, my man?
and the big homie Timothy Shealy with the Avatar the Rockets, the winning team tonight.
Yo, 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 what's happening, people?
All right, man. All right, we're just gonna get into it, bro. I know it's a good night. Rockets pull it out. It wasn't pretty, but cheering for the Rockets at any point in time in your life, you know that the wins, are big wins anyway, are rarely pretty. Whether it was Game 7 against the Knicks with the Junkyard Dog, or sweeping a very poor Magic team who was just on the up and up.
Hmm.
You know, they're never pretty, but it's that's okay because this is when you tell yourself a win is a win. 28 points from James Harden. Um, Dirk tried. They pushed them. They did what they could. But either way, the Rockets are going on. Just give me your immediate thought, and we're gonna break it down. But what were you all's immediate thoughts as the clock struck zero for Dallas?
Relief, man. I'm glad we got it out the way. I'm glad we closed them out, man. The series was, to me, it was tougher than I think it should have been. I knew that Dallas wasn't going to lay down, wasn't going to go out without a fight, but I figured that we would be able to do more. When it came to closing them out, I thought that the Rockets would do what it took to close them out. But relief, man. I'm glad we got out of that. We have some time to rest and see who our next opponent is going to be in the second round.
It's definitely a lot of relief, man. Dallas threw everything they had at us. I really felt like Al-Farouq Aminu played James Harden probably just as well as Wes Matthews played him last year. It's just he didn't have any support, but he really did hold Harden in check, and Harden could have had a lot more than 28 points if it wasn't for some hard defense. Aminu also ended up with 5 steals as well as his 5 fouls, but he also grabbed 9 rebounds. He was an active body, stayed in for 36 minutes, and I think Dallas probably found the second coming of Luol Deng over there. So if there's anything I can take positive out of that, Al-Farouq Aminu really showed that he's an NBA player and he can hang in with the best of them. But as far as the Rockets are concerned, it was good to see Dwight Howard play close to 40 minutes. He locked in 38 minutes. He still struggled with his free throws, but he got back on the glass. We won the rebound battle today, 53-47. So that was a good sign. I'm glad Josh Smith had a solid first half, 16 points. That was huge. He slowed up a little bit in the second half, but we really didn't need him. He was pretty much that spark that we needed to keep us in the game and never gave Dallas that lead. So it's always positive to see Josh Smith coming off the bench strong. I hate that Jason Terry still struggled to find his shot as well as Ariza struggled to find his shot. And I did bash T. Jones early in the first half because he only had 2 points, but he really turned it on, especially in the fourth quarter with his 13 second half points. And he went on a personal, I think, 6-0 or 8-0 run on his own with a few transition dunks, a couple leak outs, and that huge three in the corner plus the and one play. So it's always good to see Trevor Ariza, T. Jones, Howard, Harden, Smith, Terry, they all just played as a good collective unit like veterans. So it's always good to see them play like that and close this team out rather than letting them go back to Dallas for a game 6.
Yeah, and to give some respect to Dallas with what they had to put up through, this playoffs between Rondo and injuries and things of
Yeah.
that, they still stuck in and fought. I got to give it to them. I got to give their respect. Like I said, I knew that they were going to be a tough team, but after the first 2 games, you thought that they might crumble, you thought they might break down, but they stayed in it and they fought their hearts out. So you got to give them respect.
Yeah, they really did fight because nobody gave them a chance, especially after the Rondo incident in Game 2 and then Chandler Parsons being out. No one really gave them a chance, and they really showed us. They humbled us in Game 4, I believe. That's why I said the Rockets needed a loss like that. It wasn't a cause to hit the panic button. It's just to let you know this is playoff basketball. These teams are fighting not to go home. So you can't just try to get in the playoffs just because you're up 3-0 and just expect that you're going to win one more game. You see what happened with the Bulls. They didn't win. You also see what happened with the Grizzlies. They didn't win. So out of the 6 series that was up 3-0, only half of those teams ended in a sweep. That tells you something. These people don't want to go home. These are
Yeah,
NBA players.
and that's something I was talking to a buddy of mine about. It seems as though we somewhat came into Game Four expecting to win and not
Exactly.
playing to win. And
Mhm.
there's a huge difference between expecting to win and playing to win. When you're the team up 3-0, you're supposed to come in and put your foot on the neck of the opponent, and you know what I'm saying. Just drive that nail in the coffin home. You know, just
Exactly.
send the team home. You don't lolly around with them or play with them and give them hope. No team has ever come back from 3-0, but I always say there's a first time for everything.
Exactly, exactly. Especially in Game Four, when you seen the Rockets go up early and they had that 10-point lead, they really took their foot off the gas and they just let Dallas slowly, slowly chip at them. The big difference between Game Four and Game Five is Dirk. Dirk going 8 for 23 was huge in our favor. Wasn't as big on Dallas' favor. Then 0 for 6 from the 3-point line. If Dirk hit a few of those shots, the momentum completely changed in the game. JJ Barrera was finally held in check. I just don't understand why it took 3 games just to slow this guy down. But those were the small keys to the game and not letting those players get hot. But Terrence Jones did a hell of a job on Dirk. He really forced him to take some difficult shots. I like the hustle that we got from Prigioni, especially on the defensive end. But this is a veteran team. It's a reason we're the 2 seed in the West, and I think today they actually showed why they didn't play the best game with the 21 turnovers, but they overcame a lot of adversity. A lot
And,
of adversity because Dallas was within 5 points, it seemed like, for half the game.
Now, Timothy, I want to ask you. I got a question for you, and then of course, DeMarcus, you can take it over. But Corey Brewer, Trevor Ariza, Jason Terry, each had 5 points when they usually putting up 15. What's going on, man? How they gonna have about a week off? I mean, a few days off. How do they change this up? How do they get back hot to where they were shooting in the regular season? Because they don't win big unless some threes are falling.
I think the rest is going to be real crucial for the likes of Terry and also the likes of Ariza, who Ariza has been basically all season. Ariza has been having to put so much effort into playing his defense and trying to find his shots. I
35
think that
plus.
this rest is going to do wonders for those two. And as far as Brewer is concerned, I just feel like Brewer somewhat had a bad night, man. You know, you don't expect those nights from Brewer every night. He had a couple of plays where he slipped and fell. He had a couple of plays where he kind of, bumped up and had some funny looking shots and whatnot. But I think nothing for me to be concerned about, especially with the rest. I think that we need this rest going into facing whoever we're going to face next, whether it be the Clippers or the Spurs. Time to game plan and look. But Terry's an older cat, man. Those legs are getting tired. It's hard for him to be able to run around with the likes of J.J. Barea and even a Devin Harris and still have to come back on the other end and play offense and score some points. So I think this rest is going to do wonders for him.
Definitely. And another thing you got to realize with Corey Brewer, he gets a lot of his points in transition. Today, Dallas was getting back. It was one instance where I think 4 Dallas defenders get back while we was trying to get on the fast break. So whenever you cut off those fast break points, you're pretty much taking away Corey Brewer's 10 to 8 points a game because that's where he gets his points when he leaks out in transition. So then you put Corey Brewer in a half court set and he takes those uncomfortable mid ranges or he falls down because he's not that great of a dribbler. He's not really a handler, but he can finish. So now you taking him out of his element. He has to now gain momentum while he's going to the paint. And that's when you throw him completely out of rhythm. He's best in transition. So I can understand why Corey struggled tonight. But Trevor Ariza missed some huge threes again. Jet, he only played 24 minutes. He only took 5 shots, but my main concern is with Ariza. He has got this shooting slump. I don't think he shot well since the first game. And throughout the series, he shot 22% from three, 28% overall. And that's just not going to cut it. 8 points a game? No, no, that's not going to cut it. So we definitely need Trevor Reeves to break out his funk. I'm not so worried about Jason Terry because I still feel at this point in his career, whatever he gives us on the 3-point end is extra. We don't need him to hit his threes, but when he does hit them, we have a higher percentage chance of winning that basketball game. Your Lane, you cutting out. I can't hear you, Lane. Tim, you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Lane, do you copy?
I can't hear him either.
Lane, do you copy?
Lane somewhere getting drunk with James Harden.
Still can't hear you, Lane. It look like you're trying to talk into the mic. Still can't hear you, man.
So, DeMarcus, who do you want to see us play in the next round? Who do you think we had the best matchup with?
Man, the best matchup, man. It's hard to say. I feel like both of them is pretty competitive, especially when you look at the Clippers' athleticism. So it's gonna be a battle between Dwight Howard and DeAndre Jordan in the paint. But I think Blake Griffin's gonna have the advantage over Terrence Jones and Josh Smith. I know we talk about Josh a lot, but man, Blake Griffin, between him and Josh Smith, it's all about who's going to hit their shots. You know, Blake Griffin, he struggles with the mid range. Josh Smith, we already know his woes at the 3-point line and the free throw line. And it's going to be who's going to be a better star between Chris Paul and James Harden, man. So it's all going to come down to the defense on Chris Paul and who's going to be on him, because you know he's going to tear apart Prigioni and Terry if they're on him. And
Yeah,
Corey Brewer definitely got to get in the fast break the next game. And Matt Barnes, we can't let players like Matt Barnes, Austin Rivers get confidence, because we already gonna have to put up with the likes of Chris Paul, Jamal Crawford, maybe JJ Redick a few times. So we got to make sure that their role players only play like role players. We can't let them turn into superstars in the playoffs.
yeah, and that's my question. I would like to see what the matchup is going to be. Who's going to hold Chris Paul if we do end up facing the Clippers going into the next round? And even with the Spurs, I want to see how they plan on matching up against us. I want to see if they plan on having Kawhi hold James. You know what I'm saying? What they're going to look at on the defensive end on their side. So, to be honest with you, just had to be the lesser of two evils. I don't know which one I would want to see right
And man, and that's the hard part. Is like, which one do you want? Do you want the solid veteran team who you know is gonna put James not James, but Dwight Howard, Josh Smith, Clint Capella, Joey Dorsey on the free throw line, or would you rather play a flashy team that you're similar with, but you're going to have to outscore? So it's very hard to see which one I actually want to see. I mean, of course, you like to face a team in Texas. That way, you have a shorter travel schedule. You know, you can sleep at home a little bit more. The players will be well rested compared to having to fly to LA every other
Yeah.
4 or 5 days. You know, so
Play the late games in LA.
exactly. So, you know, from a time standpoint, you'd want him to stay in Texas, but do you really want to see Greg Popovich in a possible 6 or 7 game series? It's not going to be a sweep. It's not going to be a 5 game series, and hell, we may not even be the favorites. So, do you
Yeah.
really want to see Greg Popovich in 6 to 7 games, knowing that he's going to put your worst free throw lines on that line every time and force James to become a star, or would you rather fly all the way to LA and let James and Chris duke it out? And they both have a lot to prove because they both haven't had the best playoff experiences the last few years, especially Chris Paul. It's like he's been stuck
Yeah.
in the second round for years.
And that's why I say I think this is the year that he's going to have to try and prove himself. I think this is the year he has a lot riding on it. You know, this team has been together for a while. They gelled. They've had their coach. It's really time for them to prove, you know, that they're a team that's going to be a force in the West. If they make it to that Western Conference Finals or even the NBA Finals, they're going to have to be one of those teams this year, or this may be the end. They may break their team up.
I mean,
So
but you could say the same thing about both of them, Tim, because the Rockets and the Clippers both have a lot to prove, and it seems like San Antonio is going to get in the way of either one of their playoff chances, if not both. So the Rockets and Clippers will be a more entertaining matchup, but the Spurs and Rockets could really be dreadful games, long because of all the free throw shooting. So
yeah,
I'd
I
rather
think
see I'd rather see good basketball, but at the same time, I think the Clippers could have our number.
Yeah, I think the Spurs matchup will be more of a chess game. You
Hmm.
know, you pretty much know Pop is going to come in and he's going to use I don't want to call it hack a shack anymore, but you know the intentional foul. Pop is going to use it. You know, Carlisle used it, but I think Pop is going to really put our shooters, you know what I'm saying, on the line night in and night out,
Right.
whether up or down. You know,
Right.
it doesn't matter. Just to disrupt the flow of the game.
Yeah, because it seemed like Carlisle wasn't completely comfortable using it. It was just like he wanted to get a feeling guard process. Because, you know, we could have did the same thing with Tyson Chandler. But like you were saying with the chess game, you seen Mikal make those adjustments, I'd say, at the end of the second quarter when you seen him alternating the bigs out and about the beginning of the fourth quarter when you also seen him take out Dwight Howard because you know this is a possible foul situation. I know Josh Smith is not the best of free throw shooters, but he's been hitting them at a higher rate than Dwight so far. So you've seen him make those adjustments, and I think Carlisle gave Mikal a good game plan on what he needs to do to defeat that strategy. But at the same time, Carlisle doesn't have Boris Diaw, Tim Duncan, Tiago Splitter, all these big guys, they can just come in and be a pest, especially on the defensive end, because once the white goes out, you can go straight to the paint on us. But vice versa, if one of their bigs go out, they bring another man in. It's the next man up. They're about 4 or 5 deep as far as the defensive
Yeah,
front rotation.
that rotation is
Yeah,
nice. You have
exactly.
a good rotation of big men.
Exactly. So that's what I'm most afraid of because we just don't have that solid defender that can come in as soon as the white goes down. Clint Capella's playing good, but he's still a rookie, and I feel like our expectations for him are so high. But he's given us the perfect amount of playing time. I think today he had about 7 minutes. He played some solid defense. He got dunked on a few times, but hey, it's a welcome to the NBA experience. So
Welcome to the playoffs experience.
welcome to the playoffs. Exactly, that's what it is. Al Farouk just wanted that basket more than Clint Capella wanted that dunk. So those are the type of things you got to look out for, and I think that's where San Antonio may have the advantage. And I'm only speaking with the big man, you know, and how they trap, how they come off the picks, how they gonna force James to give up the ball. Then you got the Claw and Danny Green constantly rotating outside, protecting Tony Parker. You know, it's just a tough matchup when you talk about the Spurs, but it's gonna be a tough matchup even with the Clippers. You know, we just got to bring our A game. I think with the Spurs we ended up 3-1 Spurs side, and then with the Clippers we ended up 2-2. So both these teams they've beat us at least twice in the regular season. So they clearly have a map as far as how to beat us. So we just got to execute. You definitely can't have the turnovers. I think James played huge in this series. We're gonna need the same thing from him in the next. He ended up averaging 28 points, shooting 38% from the 3-point line, 46% overall. He shot 96% from the free throw line, so he's hitting his free throws, but that's never been a big problem with James. 8 assists, about 4 rebounds. I'm glad that he's not as aggressive on the glass. That means he's looking to get in the break, get in transition a lot more, and he's just letting the big man eat up all the glass. So that's a good thing to see. So you're definitely gonna have to get high play from James Harden. Like we said earlier, Trevor Ariza has to shoot better.
James Harden, and also I somewhat like if you've been paying attention to the games, Harden has been getting some rest in the fourth quarter.
Exactly.
I think that's much needed after the season that he's had, and especially us in our series tonight. I think that this, like I say, the rest is going to be much needed for us going into the next series whenever it does come upon us.
No, that is huge because I think the last 2 or 3 games, James has been coming in at about the 6-minute mark. Now in the regular season, he used to have to come in about the 10-minute or 9-minute mark. He only had about 2 minutes of rest in the regular season. So you're pretty much seeing some fresh legs coming from James. Today he actually only played 35 minutes, which is actually not bad for James. We usually see him playing close to 40, but he did have 4 fouls going into the fourth quarter also. But it's just good that they're able to hold the lead with James on the bench. That's just something that you really didn't get to see a lot of in the regular season because they had to scramble just to get him back in the game. That way that we don't relinquish a 10-point lead or a 5-point lead. So
that's something I was very surprised about tonight too.
You know, but you can't be because Pablo Prigioni, he's a 17-year vet, but it may not be all NBA, but overseas he plays some huge ball for Argentina, and he's been in these situations. So his ball handling at the end of games is off the charts. You know, I must say you don't see him get a lot of turnovers at all. He makes smart, precise passes. Like I said, he played some solid defense today. I just hope he can continue that play. And he really is a quiet spark off the bench. His shooting is still something that I question. His shot always looks flat. Sometimes it goes in, but I think those are just lucky shots. So I'm still on the fence about his shooting, but I do love his playmaking, his facilitating. He is a leader. Whenever he is in the game, he directs Howard to get in the post. Because whenever you look at Howard, he's so quick to come out and do the pick and roll because that's all he's accustomed to with James, that Pablo has to slow the game down. He put his hand up, tell Howard to get in the post, and he going to dump it to the big man. He going to feed him. That's not something you get when you have James because they so quick to run the pick and roll, try to get the defenders off their feet, try to get to the lane quicker, and that's how we end up getting a lot of our turnovers today. You know, we kept doing the pick and roll. They kept trying to throw the bounce pass. It just wasn't going.
Yeah, the dangerous passes. The game that we played tonight, I don't think we'll be able to play against either team next round. You know, you can't make those type of turnovers. You can't make those type of passes and still expect to win. I'm not gonna say that we got lucky, but basically tonight was a very ugly game. It was a very sloppy game, but we still managed to pull it out, and I think that was very good. Also, I would like to see, man. Dwight Howard, man. I think Dwight. I don't know what's wrong with him, but he tends to let other players get underneath his skin, man. He let Tyson Chandler get underneath his skin, and like you say, he gets those ticky-tack fouls and seems trying to prove himself or trying to outmuscle the other player. Hopefully, we don't have to see that next round.
Yeah, that is true because he picked up a quick 3 fouls, and I thought it was going to be a long game, especially in that first half. I was just, please, just don't pick up any more of these fouls. It seemed like it was all offensive, like he retaliating to what Dirk or Chandler was doing, and you got to realize these guys are playing so they don't go home. Of course they're going to get under your skin. You're up 3-1. You only need one more win to advance in the playoffs while they still need 3 more. So, of course, they're going to try to get under your skin, but I'm just glad that after the technical foul, he was calm, he was cool, he was collected. He ended up not fouling anymore after that. He controlled the glass. He got a few shots, even though he didn't make them, still didn't make his free throws, but he did play solid, and he did bounce back after that technical foul, especially on the defensive end with the 4 blocks. So he,
Yes.
he he really did come through. He hustled a lot. So the one thing that you want to see from Dwight is him responding after those type of ticky tack fouls and after getting a technical call and not hitting your free throws. He responded on the defensive end. He is the anchor. He is the rim protector. So he did his job today. But going forward, you're going to expect the same thing. Whether it's Tim Duncan down there, it's going to be the same thing. Whether it's DeAndre Jordan down there, they're going to try to get under your skin. They want you to start pushing. They're going to start flopping all around. And when they do call the fouls on the defensive side, you have to hit your free throws. Because what's the point of crying about not getting a call if you're not going to be able to execute and hit those free throws, especially down the stretch? Luckily, with about 5 minutes left, when they did put Howard back in, they didn't initiate the Hacker Shack, Hacker Dwight, whatever you want to call it, because it could have been a different outcome. You know, Rick Carlisle, he just wasn't aggressive with putting them on the free throw line, and Howard, he was only 4 for 10. I think if he really wanted to give Dallas another shot, he should have put him on the free throw line because he wasn't just hitting them consistently to stop calling it. He wasn't.
Yes, and that's why I say I think that's going to be the one of the keys to next round because that's we know that that's something that the Spurs will do, and I'm not sure if that's not something that we may not see or may see from Doc Rivers, because teams have done that to him and DeAndre Jordan this year. So come playoff time, that may
And
be a strategy that he uses as well.
and that'll be like the ultimate payback or slap in the face from Doc Rivers because that's someone that seems like he complains openly about everything. If he was to use that type of game plan going into the next round, that'll be very un-Doc Rivers like. I hope we wouldn't see anything like that because Clippers and Rockets will probably be the best chance at a true NBA series. Like you said, Rockets and Spurs is going to be nothing but a chess match. It's going to be can James hit his shots? Can Josh Smith hit his shots? It's going to come down to individual players, pretty much. If Clippers and Rockets play, you'll see a lot more team ball, a lot more passing because they'll be comfortable. They wouldn't have to worry about, oh, is he going to foul me this time coming down? Because you got to realize Dwight Howard, half the time when he know that's what they're trying to do, he going to inbound the ball slow. He going to try to walk up. He don't want to go through that. You can tell he tries to shy away from it, but if it's something that's being called by the coach, it's nothing you can do about it. It's absolutely nothing you can do about it. But I know Marcus, he really had a lot to say about the refs tonight. I feel like the refs did try to impact the game early, but I think they kind of evened everything out in the second half. It wasn't as bad as it was in the first half, but at the same time, we had a lot of turnovers. I do understand that the refs played a critical part in what was going on today, but we were beating ourselves up because Dallas wasn't hitting their shots. As usual, all their points came from transition points or points off turnovers. That's it. In the half court set, going into the first half, at halftime, I think they only had 8 points in the half court set. Dallas did. So all their points came off the fast break, off transition, off turnovers. So that's the main thing. If you don't want the refs to dictate the game, you have to hit your shots. You can't turn the ball over, and you have to hit your free throws. Because when you miss your free throws, that's automatically starting to break right there. That should be considered fast break points also, because now you thinking that the offensive player is going to make it. You playing up. They see them miss. Those defenders are going to start leaking out, and it's going to be an easy score. So
Yes.
that's the keys to the next series. You can't allow teams, especially the Clippers, not so much San Antonio, but especially the Clippers, to get out on the break because they will every time. I think they'll score on Jet, Prigioni, maybe Harden because you see he's not really aggressive in the fast break. He don't want to pick those fouls up. Those are not the fouls Harden wants because he usually gets a lot of offensive charges. I never understood why, but he gets a lot of offensive fouls, so I'm glad he don't be so aggressive on the defensive end, especially on the fast break with picking up those fouls because those 4 fouls he had today, if he would have tried to contest those layups, he could have fouled out.
Yeah, yeah, you're right, man. I think as far as the refs, like you say, man, if you're gonna have problems with the refs, if we're gonna complain and this and that, then like you say, you have to make your free throws. There's no point in getting the foul calls, going to the line, and
Exactly.
not hitting your shots.
Exactly.
There's nothing to complain about. So that's something that we're gonna need to do, and that's something that we have to fix in house. Dwight has been in the league for a while. I think him and Josh Smith are 10-year vets. They
Yes.
it's something to where they have to either get their muscle memory down or they have to get them a routine, whatever it is, to go to the line and make their free throws. And I know we're saying it's 10 years down the road, that they need to start hitting their free throws. There's something that they have to do, man. I,
Hmm.
I don't believe that you can go your whole career and never be a decent free throw shooter. There's something for you, there's some way for you to knock them out. I don't know how, but there's some way for them guys to knock out those free throws.
Yeah, because Dwight Howard and Josh Smith both shot 40% from the free throw line in this series. One of the keys that I even told you about earlier in the year, in order for us to have playoff success, is going to come down to the 3-point percentage. I told you to start the year that three players had to shoot 40% from the 3-point line. I told you Pat Bev, I told you Josh Smith, I told you Jason Terry. Right now, we have four players shooting 40% from the 3-point line. That has to continue. You have Corey Brewer at 53%. We have Josh Smith at 39%, almost 40, and you got Jason Terry at 47%, and James Harden at 38%, almost 40. So they're right in the ballpark where we need them to hit their three-pointers, but the free throws is what's really killing us. And 40% at the free throw line, when I told you I needed 40% at the 3-point line, is not going to cut it. Dwight and Josh Smith has to get at least to 60%, at least 55, in order for us to avoid an elimination in the second round.
Ah man, let me see here, man. Do you what did you think about the Bulls game the other night?
Ah man, that Bulls game. You know those Bucks, they really doing a lot of fighting. And I mean, I can't say I expected it. I thought the Bulls would have wrapped them up by now. I really called for a sweep, no more than five, because they know the challenge that lies in front of them and King James. But the Bulls, they really have to cut out the turnovers. I think Derrick Rose got his shot blocked 6 times and also committed 6 turnovers. So that's just off the rip. That's maybe at least 12 points off the board, potential points off the board. Not saying that he would have scored, but Derrick Rose, he definitely can't turn the ball over. But regardless of what goes on in the Bulls and Bucks series, you have to look at the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers took a huge loss. It seems like Kevin Love is going to be out for the entire length of the playoffs, barring something spectacular happens. And losing someone like Kevin Love, you also got J.R. Smith gone for 2 games. I think the Bucks should lose the next game and the Bulls should advance. So I don't see anything holding the Bulls back other than themselves from advancing in Game 6. But I think the true test is going to lie with LeBron James and how he can lead the Cavaliers going into the second round against these Bulls, who who just finished playing a young, hungry team. Now you're gonna go into an environment where LeBron is finally back in Cleveland. He got them out the first round, and what can you expect in this series? Well, what you can expect is the Cavs to be weak inside with no Kevin Love. Kendrick Perkins playing a high amount of minutes would not be a positive thing for the Cavaliers. Timothy Mozgov struggled with his minutes because he's a Russian. He's not really used to the U.S. game. That's why he don't play a lot of hardcore minutes. They really only have him in for about 25 to 30 minutes per game. So when you have him out there for an extended period of time, he's going to get winded. I can say the same thing about Perkins getting winded. So I see them being very weak on the inside. Then you turn to Chicago, which is going to be a physical team and won't need Rose to push the ball up as much. This Bucks team, they may not be the best big man, but they have an assortment of big men they can throw at them to force them to have to use Derrick Rose to beat them. That's why you see so many turnovers on Rose. I think for the next series, the Bulls can use their big men to their advantage. And what I mean by that, I'm talking about Paul Gasol. You can isolate Paul Gasol. He's a hell of a passer. He's always been, even when he's with the Lakers or the Grizzlies, he's always been a hell of a passer. You got Noah, who's probably the second best passing big man in the league behind DeMarcus Cousins. So when you have those two at your disposal, You're gonna have Taj Gibson coming off the bench, who we seen what kind of electricity he can bring to a game. He's kind of like the old version, or could say the first version of what Draymond Green was. When Taj Gibson first came on the scene for Chicago, it was in the playoffs. He was guarding D Wade, he was dunking on him and all this and that. They still ended up losing that series, but he brought a lot to the team to make them give him $40 million. So he has to be doing something. Then you have Meritek. He's a rookie, but he's making a solid impact on this team. So I think they can take advantage of the big man because all they have is Perkins and Mozgov. And if you want to count Thompson, you can, but you can put a body on Thompson. He'll be at your disposal all day because he don't have a lot of muscle in that frame. He's a pretty thin guy. He's more of a athletic power forward, more like a Thaddeus Young type of player. So if you just box him out, he won't be effective. So next series, we're really going to see what LeBron James is made of, and I'm pretty excited about it because I love his game. I love how he always looked for his teammates, but I just haven't seen the killer instinct in LeBron James since that Detroit series where he had to score, what was it, 20 straight points for that team to win. I want to see that LeBron James against the Bulls, and I'll get off his back, hands down, because if he can take over that series and put his fingerprints all over it, he's only going to add to his legacy.
Yeah, and this, me and you had talked about that potential series before the playoffs even started of seeing a Bulls versus Cleveland, and it seems like maybe it is kind of watered down now with the Kevin Love and J.R. Smith being out 2 games. But like you say, I think with LeBron coming back to Cleveland, this somewhat sets the stage for him to come out and actually earn that ring for the city. I think it would have been. People would have kind of criticized him of having to do it with the Kevin Love and having to do it with a Kyrie Irving and having to do it with so many other people. But now with Love gone, it's going to be so much more on LeBron because he's going to have to play some powerful, going into the second round and so on forth with Love being out. He's going to have to be that same guy he somewhat was in Miami, playing a 5, and pretty much orchestrating his team and leading them, potentially to the championship if they can get through the next 2 rounds. I think it's going to be very exciting to see, and we're going to see what if LeBron is, one of the greatest ever.
I can agree with that, and that's the main thing I want to see because now there's no fallback guy, and much respect to D Wade, much respect to LeBron, but Chris Bosh took all the blame anytime they lost a game. Or if anything went wrong in Miami, he took all the blame. Now that guy that you had to take that blame is gone. Who you gonna blame now? Tristan Thompson? He been there. He's not the high profile power forward that you signed to form a big 3. You can't blame J.R. Smith for getting suspended. You got him midway through the season. You can't blame Shumpert. Only person you can blame now is gonna be LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. They are the 2 best offensive players in the Eastern Conference. But now they're going to have to play like it. They're not going to have that third option just sitting at the wing ready to shoot a 3 at their disposal. They don't have that anymore. Unless they bring in James Jones, and I understand James Jones is a hell of a shooter, but can he keep that up in a series? He can always come in a game where they just need some threes, but can James Jones play heavy minutes? Can he avoid the playoff fouls, from the screens or the pick and rolls? Can he avoid the little ticky-tack fouls? Can he give them 20 to 25 minutes a game? Can he play 3 and at the same time guard a Jimmy Butler or guard a Meritek out there or guard a Mike Dunleavy at best? Can he do those things? We haven't seen a lot from James Jones, so it's all going to come down to them playing that stretch 4 ball. LeBron James is going to have to run power forward with Mozgov at the center. I'd say James Jones probably be the 3, Shumpert at 2, Kyrie at 1. That'll probably be their best lineup they'll have to win at this moment right now. And I just don't think that's enough to beat the Bulls. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I do want to see LeBron James get up there at least with MJ, if not Kobe. I want to see him get some more rings, but not having a dominant power forward, if you even want to call him dominant, not just having that guy that is going to get in there, get you 14 rebounds, play some solid defense, be there for those 3-pointers when I'm driving to the paint, I just got to dump it out to the 3-point line. Not having him there, that takes a lot from the Cavaliers.
Yes, it does, man. It seems somewhat like Love was somewhat of their X factor. You know, he'll always be reliable with his rebounding.
Exactly.
You know, as far as his scoring and being able to knock down his shots, he seemed like somewhat of the X factor because you're pretty sure Kyrie's gonna get his, LeBron's gonna get his, but how many is Love gonna get tonight? Or his shots gonna be falling? Is he gonna be able to get you 20?
Exactly. He probably get the quietest 18 to 25 you could ever see, right up there with Klay Thompson. You know, like they get their points very quietly, very sneaky, but they get them. They show up on the stat sheet. So it's gonna be a tough task ahead of them, especially when they know they don't have a guaranteed 18 points on the board, and now you're gonna have to split that up and try to create 9 points apiece for your teammates, if not add to your own scoring total. So it's definitely gonna be something interesting to watch. Um, let's see what's going on right now. San Antonio and the Clippers. They 2 minutes left in the second.
50, 51,
50 to
52,
51. So
52. Blake Griffin just made another free throw.
we'll see who has the momentum coming off this game. But until next time, this is the starting five, and we out.